Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Tonight, we're getting a look at the damage caused by big surf along San Diego's coast over the weekend. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. An already aging landmark was especially hit hard by the waves. KPBS reporter Melissa May shows us the impact on the Ocean Beach Pier.
The Ocean Beach Pier has been closed since October due to public safety concerns. Then this weekend's waves knocked off railings and one of the pier's structural pilings.
But as you can see, public safety has to be priority. And with the damage that we've seen over this last weekend, it's obvious that the right decision was made because there was significant damage.
The city has already been working to come up with solutions to potentially replace the pier and is engaging the public in the process. City of San Diego spokesperson Jose Isaya says the next meeting will be in April.
Right now, we're waiting for consultants to come back in a few months with the results from those meetings and with that input on what the community recommends and what the consultants think we can do to replace it and keep everybody happy.
Matthew Martinez is one of the consultants the city is working with, but he also has a personal connection to the pier. He remembers when it opened in 1966.
I did catch my first fish. It was about a 10-inch yellowfin croaker, and I was very proud of that. If I remember right, I took it to bed and slept with it under my pillow, and my mother was not very happy about that.
Now Martinez is a structural engineer with Moffitt & Nickel, the firm brought on by the city to assess the pier.
It's seen better days. We've done a lot of inspection, laboratory testing on the concrete, and have really made the determination that it's better to replace the pier as opposed to continually just putting Band-Aids on it that will maybe be good for a year or two.
Martinez was in the process of posting a new sign about the Ocean Beach Pier Renewal Project and describes the pier's structural problems.
When reinforcing steel is embedded in concrete, concrete is not a solid material. It's actually porous. And in this kind of environment, you get chloride ions, salt, from the seawater, and over time it makes its way into the interior of the concrete, interacts with the reinforcing steel, and it begins to rust.
Martinez says that rust causes the metal to swell and forces the concrete to break off.
Both the superstructure and the substructure have gone through this really natural process of degradation in what is a very difficult marine environment. Wind, salt, water, things that are the enemies of reinforced concrete.
For more information about the proposed renewal, go to www.obpierrenewal.com.
What people need to realize is these things don't last forever, and the process for replacement is something that doesn't happen overnight.
The city says the pier will be closed through the rest of the storm season, and the earliest it could be open is late February. Melissa May, KPBS News.
Well, we're starting an active weather pattern as we head into the middle half of the week. We are talking some rain sinking south across SoCal and even some snow for our higher elevations. So we are going to continue to keep you updated on those conditions as we head throughout the rest of the week. We're also tracking again that rain, snow, and gusty winds. We'll break it down for you coming up.
A new year and a new minimum wage for employees in the city of San Diego and across the county. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer looks at how that may impact workers and business owners, with an even larger raise for fast food workers on the horizon.
As of January 1st, the hourly minimum wage rose to $16.85 in the city of San Diego and to $16 in the rest of San Diego County and California. It's a modest raise compared to last year's. In both cases, wages are up roughly 50 cents. But Jerry's Street Churros co-owner, Tom Ta, says any raise affects business. He's looking into robot arms to make boba drinks and fewer employee hours.
It's definitely a big impact, and we require to restructure, retrain.
On April 1st, a far more impactful wage hike will take place, boosting the hourly pay of California's fast food workers to $20 an hour. For Oceanside resident Lucia Juarez, it's great news. She currently works for the minimum wage in the flower industry.
Yo pienso que está muy bien. A mí me gustaría cambiar de trabajo porque $20 la hora pues ya es bastante dinero, y porque siempre tenemos gastos que pagar. La renta principalmente es bien cara, y principalmente la comida ahorita está muy caro.
Dean of the UC San Diego School of Global Policy and Strategy, Carolyn Freund, says the upcoming fast food raises could have ripple effects on other industries and effects already. He says small businesses like his own will feel the pinch as he plans to raise wages and stay competitive.
You know, it's a lot of franchising, like a McDonald's, In-N-Out. They can afford to pay $20, but not like the small business us. I mean, if they can do same job over there in $20, who I'm gonna pay the $16, $18 to make a burger?
The April 1st wage hike applies to all fast food chains with 60 or more locations nationwide. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
Another law is bringing a key piece of culture back to Southern California. Coming up, a ban on cruising is lifted, allowing drivers to show off their love of lowrider cars. Heads up, future and current college students. The new free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, arrived during holiday break, and there are a lot of changes. Here's Karen Kafa on how the delay could impact colleges and students during the upcoming year.
A trimmed-down version of the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, is now available online.
You never know what federal aid you might be eligible for.
The new FAFSA, which will determine federal aid eligibility for the 2024-25 academic year, has reduced the number of questions for students from as many as 108 to as few as 18. The Department of Education says some applicants can complete the form in less than 10 minutes. The revamp, approved by Congress in 2019 and 2020, is a response to criticism that the previous process was too complicated and simplifies applications in two major ways. First, a tool connected with the IRS will allow all applicants to pull appropriate tax data from their parents' most recent income tax filings with their parents' consent.
The student will go in and say, yes, you can pull any information on file at the IRS for me. And then the parent will also go in and do the same.
Second, applicants can now skip questions that just aren't relevant to them. Also revised, the way aid is calculated. That's expected to boost the number of lower-income students eligible for federal Pell Grants, which do not need to be repaid. But the new calculations eliminate the so-called sibling discount, where students who had a sibling enrolled in college were eligible for more aid. Colleges will begin to receive applicant data in late January, setting a tight clock for institutions that typically send aid award letters in March.
They will be scrambling to get those turned around so that students and families have adequate amount of time so that they can consider all of their options and make their enrollment decision.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The San Diego Wildlife Alliance brought home the top trophy for most beautiful float at the Rose Parade in Pasadena. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us what's behind more than a century of teaching generations how to protect wildlife.
It began with a roar 107 years ago when the San Diego Zoo first started protecting and preserving wild animals. The San Diego Wildlife Alliance entered this 55-foot float in the Rose Parade, featuring flowered replicas of some of its current superstars, like Karen, the 32-year-old great ape that survived open-heart surgery, and Chinook, the orphaned polar bear.
I really like this polar bear because it's fluffy, and also I like polar bears.
8-year-old Violet Anderson and her family met the real Chinook this morning at the San Diego Zoo. They came all the way from Chicago for the chance to be entertained and educated.
I like how there are a ton of animals, and you actually get to experience to be around animals that you probably wouldn't see, even if you looked really hard.
Polar bears and lions and orangutans animals live in habitats designed to engage visitors and to teach them how they can help save these animals.
It's great to learn about all the conservation. We learned about different genetic techniques that are being used here at the safari park and at the zoo.
The San Diego Zoo and the Wild Animal Park provide a classroom to the world. Together with in-person visits and online programs, they connect with 1 billion people every year. That's in over 150 countries. That means much of the international auditing opportunities in the new year. The float, made with everything from golden bamboo, won the sweepstakes trophy.
Integrated and involved in conservation. Every corner around the park and the zoo, it's an adventure.
And now an award-winning adventure. MG Perez, KPBS News.
And San Diego was well represented at the Rose Parade. Behind the scenes, the San Diego Humane Society's emergency response team worked to help entries that included horses. And they say it largely went according to plan, with only a handful of horses needing to leave the route early due to overstimulation. The San Diego Humane Society has been working at the event since 1996. It's that time of year when we set out to make a better version of ourselves, but research shows people give up on their resolutions within weeks and sometimes days into the new year. Mandy Gaither has these tips to make your 2024 resolutions stick.
From exercising more to eating better. If you're looking to make a change in the new year, you're not alone, but bad habits can be hard to shift.
Change is not like a light switch. It is a process.
Clinical psychologist Susan Alberts with Cleveland Clinic says the first way to help make resolutions stick is to be specific about our goals.
Our brains love to know the direction that we are going. So instead of saying, I want to exercise more, make a specific goal, such as 20 minutes of walking a day. This is going to make you much more successful in completing this goal.
Albert says to also be realistic. Setting goals that aren't sustainable can make resolutions fall flat.
This is because we tend to set behaviors that are too different from where we are at this very moment. Anticipating obstacles. This is a helpful strategy for continuing resolutions.
Albert says stopping a behavior is harder than starting one. So instead of trying not to eat any more junk food, she says to try setting a goal to eat more fruits and veggies. And finally, link a new behavior to an existing one.
For example, if you drink coffee every morning, but you want to start exercising, link the exercise to drinking the coffee. Have it be the very next behavior that you do.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A ban on cruising has been lifted, allowing drivers to show off classic custom lowriders while taking a leisure ride in the streets. Critics say the ban was discriminatory, and they are glad that it's gone. Michelle Gillet reports.
It's a sign of the times.
Cruising is no longer a crime.
A ceremonial no cruising sign on Whittier Boulevard has been taken down to celebrate the first day of a new law.
It means success, celebration. It means that the people fought and we won. We spoke up and our voices were heard to change a discriminatory law.
January 1st marks the day in LA County and across the state where lowriders and car clubs can cruise without being pulled over by law enforcement. It's official. Cruising is no longer illegal in California.
We have $100,000 cars out here, and all we want to do is do our passion, which is drive. Safe, that's all we want to do. So today, for us, removal of the sign is significant because it ends an era.
It discriminated against people of color. It was profiling for the police department. It was giving them a reason to target us. And because we had lowriders and we had cars that were different.
Oscar Ruelas started cruising Whittier Boulevard in the late 50s. It's where he and some friends founded Duke's, the world's oldest lowrider club.
Very important, not just for me, for everybody being Chicanos. Like Art says, this is our culture, our way of life. And we've been doing it. I've been doing it 7 decades.
Car club and cruising keeps everybody out of trouble, all the young kids.
Yes, off the streets.
Keeps everybody out of trouble, something to do. Instead of, going into the streets and doing this, hey, let's go cruising. let's go work on the car. Or, hey, let's go to a car show.
Below, up, left side. Bring it back. We got the three-wheel motion.
Lowrider Rogelio Avila took us under the hood of his Chevy.
I could eat off that, right?
Yes, you can eat off it. The new law is that we can cruise, modify our cars, do what we want to them, raise them, lower them, style them, show them off the way we want. There's no problem, thank God.
But while dozens of car clubs were gathering in Montebello to show off their custom wheels and chrome, one driver was given a citation by police. The ticket says a vehicle code violation, the unsafe condition of the car driving with the rear hydraulics activated. Rob Marino's ex-wife got the ticket, and he's not happy about it.
This is unnecessary, especially on the first when this law came effect, you know, and to me that's very wrong. They should have just said, okay, lower the vehicle.
They plan to go to court to fight the ticket. Depending on the outcome, the California Lowrider Alliance may explore possible remedies, as well as expanding the current law to further protect the lowrider community. In Montebello, Michelle Geely.
California's first snowpack measurement of 2024 finds levels that are well below normal for this time of year. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson says the results are quite different from just a year ago.
California Snow Survey team took measurements of a fairly meager snowpack at Phillips Station near Lake Tahoe on the second day of the new year. Station is one of several locations where officials measure snow to estimate how much water is stored there.
The survey today recorded a snow depth of 7.5 inches and a snow water content of 3 inches. That results in 30% of average to date and 12% of the April 1 average here at this location.
A year ago, this location was under 4.5 feet of snow as regular storms dropped snow on the mountains. California snowpack began the last calendar year 162% above average. And that climbed to 232% above average just 2 weeks later.
Today's result shows that it's really still too early to determine what kind of year we'll have in terms of wet or dry. And there can be so many things that happen with our storm systems between now and April, when we should see our peak snowpack.
The first of the big three precipitation months, December, January, and February, passed with an underwhelming impact on the snowpack. California already had 2 atmospheric river storms by this time last year, and it was enough to pile up record snow levels. This year, not so much.
You know, along the coast, we've had some wet weather and some extremes, but really in the interior, not as much.
A couple of cold storm systems this week could be a boost for the Sierra snowpack. National Weather Service forecasters say there could still be above average precipitation because of a strong El Nino in the Pacific Ocean. The snowpack feeds thirsty farms and cities in the spring and summer. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines. What you need to know, of course, as we head over these next few days. Our next wave of rain and snow is going to hit the area tomorrow, and that's also going to start our cooling trend here throughout the rest of the week. And after this storm makes its way through, we aren't done yet. We're talking about another storm on tap for this weekend. Looking ahead here for tonight, we're dropping down to a low of 53 here in San Diego, Oceanside 47, Ramona 43, Borrego Springs 44, Mount Laguna 34. Now, where do highs go for tomorrow? Well, you'll know as we are talking about some action. You see rain icons here all across the board. San Diego, you're at 64. Oceanside 64 as well. Borrego Springs 62 and Mount Laguna 37. And yes, we could even see a wintry mix there. As for what we're talking about here, some hazards along the coast. We do have a high surf advisory that's going to go from Wednesday afternoon into Thursday night right along the coast. We're also talking about wind advisories as we head a little bit further inland. That's going to be in effect Wednesday morning into early Thursday. And it's not just the winds that we're worried about. It's also some snow. We do have winter weather advisories through Riverside County and through San Bernardino County too, Wednesday morning through Wednesday evening. So we are talking about some pretty impressive and impactful snow moving in across the mountains right along the LA region. As for the San Diego region, we could see a few showers and even a wintry mix there closer towards our higher elevations as we head into late Tuesday into into Wednesday night as well. Along the coast there, what's your 5-day outlook? Again, rain at times here for Wednesday, 64 for the high. We are going to cool down just slightly, not really too much there as we head into Thursday, 62. Clouds breaking, 66 on Friday with sunshine prevailing through Saturday, though it is going to start to be windy there by Sunday. And as you look further inland, that's when we're going to start to see that action roll on through again. Cooler with rain Wednesday, 61 on Wednesday. We're staying in the low 60s through Thursday, and then we have our next round of rain set through Sunday with those showers pulling on through. We'll hit a high of 58. Now for the mountains, well, hey, you'll see that cooling trend as well down to the low 30s. Snow and rain Wednesday. We kind of dry out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but then by Sunday we're talking about snow and sleet again. As for the deserts, well, a couple of showers even in store for you Wednesday, though overall we are calm Thursday, Friday, though those winds do pick up towards the end of the weekend with a high of just 59. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
As we kick off the new year, we're sharing more of our favorite stories from 2023. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson shows us how researchers at the Salk Institute are working to turn the world's major crops into carbon capture superheroes.
And so here you can see a fully grown pennycress plant.
Wolfgang Busch holds up a transparent pot full of pennycress roots. He's leading the effort to figure out how plants with deep root systems can help slow global warming.
So plants are, the world record holders in getting carbon dioxide out of the air that causes the greenhouse effect and thereby climate change, and they grow everywhere.
And some plants are particularly efficient at transforming that carbon into stems, leaves, and roots. The root systems have the attention of researchers who see this trait as a key to getting carbon out of the air and stored in the ground.
Now, the deeper you put that carbon in the root system, the slower the decomposition gets. So carbon that is below 30 centimeters, below a foot in the soil is much more stable, will hang around much longer in the soil. So by putting more and more of the root material at the deeper, in the deeper soil layers, will allow this carbon to stay there in the soil to store this carbon for longer.
Busch says researchers have already identified more than 100 genes that guide the creation of deep and robust root systems. They hope to either breed those traits into crops or use modern gene splicing technology to give those abilities to the most commonly grown plants.
If you just take, 5 major crops, the most prevalent crops, and you would pool their growth area, it would cover the whole subcontinent of India. It's like so much soil being covered by these plants, and even though even if a plant will do very little on its own, the massive scale of agriculture can make a dramatic impact.
The Harnessing Plants initiative was an idea germinated by Salk researcher Joanne Corey. She thinks new and improved plants can increase crop yields, boost soil quality, and scrub carbon out of the air.
I think we could take out 10 gigatons by this method. That's not the whole amount we need to take out every year, but we can make a big contribution to the whole.
10 gigatons is about a quarter of the carbon dioxide that humans put into the air each year. One particular plant of interest is Typha, cattails. The plant is robust, and it produces a prodigious amount of seeds.
It's one of the 3 species that grows almost in all wetlands. And we find it as a primary species in some of the wetlands here that we're interested in restoring.
Michael handles a mature cattail plant with a tightly wound ball of roots.
And the roots grow so fast. This is an amazing plant. It's like a machine sucking up nutrients.
He says the plant is one of the best at moving carbon into a corked molecule known as suberin. Michael is trying to isolate the genetic characteristics that allow cattails to do that, and the hope is those abilities can be transferred to other plants.
They grab onto the surrounding substrate and they build. So they are basically building land, and you can see that they're sort of tight, and this is actually what's capturing the carbon, and this becomes oxygen free.
And sealing out oxygen keeps the roots from decomposing. It essentially locks the carbon inside the root ball. 2 years of sequencing Typha genomes has pointed researchers in encouraging directions. But the goal of an army of plants fighting global warming remains decades away.
There are a lot of recent events that suggest that we need to be moving fast. And some of the solutions that we're talking about are 10, 20 years out. But we need to be working on them now because this is really what technology is really about, right? We need to be working on every angle. So not just, carbon scrubbers, but how do we use plants? We need to cut down on emissions. All of these solutions come together.
The idea's promise has attracted plenty of supporters. Energy companies like the Hess Corporation and Sempra Energy are investing money. So is the Bezos Earth Fund and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. All hope to leverage their investments into strategies that will keep the planet from heating up. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
We use regularly. This is one of the sequencers. This is another type of sequencer. A lot of the other things that we do.
Sequencing, you said it's like DNA sequencing.
Yep, DNA sequencing.
And so here you can see a fully grown pennycress plant.
Wolfgang Busch holds up a transparent
And thank
pot
you for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you.